Hey there guys, Peter here, and today, as promised in the last video, we're going to start with our drag and drop system. First thing we need to do is to create an object that I'm going to appropriately name object set. You know what? I'm not going to name it object setup. I'm going to name it object data. This object will store all of our data. Now, in GameMaker, each object has a bunch of different events. There you go, you can see them here, like the mouse events, the step event, the collision, the keyboard. There are a bunch of other events that I'm not even going to delve in. But for now we're going to use the create event. This is basically the creation. Well, it's exactly as it sounds. It's the create event of this object. Okay, we're going to start with the code. And we're going to write some code. Now, I'm going to use GameMaker language GML, but you can easily use C# in GameMaker. I'm just more familiar with GML, and it's simpler to... It has a simpler syntaxes, meaning it's simpler commands. It's not as complicated as C#, so I'm just going to use GML. Anyways, we're going to use this object to store all of our data for everything, and I mean everything. So first off, I'm going to start with my for loop. Here's a little comment setting up the array of locations. I'm not going to explain everything in depth. I'm just going to type away, and whenever needed, I'll give a brief explanation. If you're not familiar with the basic programming structures like arrays and loops and stuff like this, it will be a better idea to check them out, because we're going to use a lot of them and I'm not going to explain all of them. We're setting a basic for loop and we're creating an array. We're going to make a two-dimensional array because it's easier for me to store everything in a two-dimensional array. So we have a location array. So the first thing we need to know about this zone is its name. I can easily name it something like mountain caves or something like that, but I need something that will be set up according to our indexing method. So I'm just going to name it location, and then I will add the index that the loop is currently in. So basically it will tell us location 0, location 1, location 2, location 3, location 4, and so on and so forth. Location I.1. It's going to be our x coordinate of the specific location. Remember that we're going to drag and drop our people, our champions, our heroes on different locations, so we need to know the x and the y coordinate. So let's set this one at 0 at the moment. This is just the basic setup. So this is the x position of the specific location, and this is the name. And now that we have the x position, we need the y position. So location I, 2 will be equal 0, and this field will store our y position. There we go. We need one more, we need one extra thing when as far as information go. It's going to be currently 0 again, and this is the amount of heroes in that specific area. We need to know how many heroes are there in one place, because if you check this image, you can see that we'll be able to put a few different heroes, and this is just to be able to rearrange the different banners for each hero. Now, since this object is going to store all of our data. This is going to have a lot of other stuff saved into it. I'm putting this comment so later on, whenever I open the project, I know what every little place, every little line of code actually does. So okay, that's our object data. We're done. Now I'm going to create a little sprite. This little sprite is going to be 256 by 96. This is going to be our banner that we're going to use for just for testing purposes for now. So we're going to make a few of those sprites that are just for freaking testing purposes. There we go. Okay, this is going to be our testing banner. So let's center the image and right here 64. I'll need it down there because I'll explain to you later why the 72, no, it's too low. I'll explain to you later why I need this to not be specifically centered, but anyways, I'm going to name this image sprite banner, spr_banner. This will be different than our object banner, which I'm going to create a little bit later on. It's going to be named obj banner. Now I'm going to make another sprite. This one will be sprite zone. Now I'm not going to waste your time with it, I'm just going to show you the final result. We're going to have a few different images for a few different situations. There we go, we have our 5 different images. Later on I will explain why we need those different images for, because there are a few different situations and I want a separate image just for a visual feedback for every different situation. We have 5 of them and we'll make a code that will choose one of them for each separate situation. Center the origin and we're done. Next up we're going to create the object banner. You see, now we have SPR banner and OBJ banner. This is why we use those prefixes SPR and OBJ. And there we go. I assign the sprite banner. And I'm going to slowly but surely starting filling it up with events. Okay, first off in the create event. Usually the create event is used for variables and initial setup. That's like 99% of the create events are used for that, for setting up variables. So let's set up some variables. I'm going to create a new variable named last zone in. Equal -1, meaning we didn't have a previous zone, but let's just set it 0 for now. A 0 later on will be our town, so we always want to go back to our town. Anyways, this will be helpful if we misclick to know where to send us back. Next up, I'm going to set up a variable mouse in. This will help us with the drag and drop system. Currently I'm going to set it up as false if I'm able to type it properly. There we go. Then we're going to set up a drag variable. This again will help us with the drag and drop system. It will be equal false again because at the start we don't drag anything. Let me see. Okay. It's all fun and dandy, but I still need to set the location of this specific object because I don't want to manually put that in the room to a specific location. So I'm just going to use our object data stored, well, data. We're going to set up our x coordinate will be equal object data dot location. Was it location? I think it was location. Maybe it was locations. I need to check that out. Let's see, object data, location. Yeah, 1 and 2. 1 is x, 2 is y. So we're going to grab our last zone in variable, our last zone in index with x position, which was number 1, and then we're going to do the same thing for y, which will be, here we go, y will be equal to that thing with index 2. There we go. Now we've taken the position of our last zone we were in. Next, we need to set up our mouse events because we're going to dragging and dropping with the mouse. Here are all the mouse events we can have. Now, on the mouse center, or was it? The variable was mouse in. It was false. So, on the mouse enter, we need to set mouse in to equal true. That's it. That's all we need in this event on the. Now we need to set the mouse leave event. Where are you? Where are you? Down there. There you go. Now on the mouse leave event, we're just setting the mouse in variable to false again. That's it. Now I need another mouse event on left pressed. Left pressed counts only in the moment you press the button. If you hold the button, it will count only in the first moment whenever you pressed it, not you hold it. The holding doesn't matter for the left pressed event. So on the left pressed, I'm going to set up an if statement. So if mouse in equal true, meaning if our mouse was over the object when we press the button, we're setting up the drag to equal true. This is just for our object. So if we have other banners, they won't be affected because it's just in that one moment and the mouse will be only over that specific banner. Then we have the left released button, and this is when where the majority of our code will be. There we go. Now, another if event. If drag equal true. When we release the button, we want to drop, so the drag will not be true anymore. The first thing we're going to do is set our drag to false. There we go. Now we need to check if we're close to another location. So if we are, then we should snap to our new location. If we're not, we need to go back to our previous location, and this is where our variable last zone in is going to play a role. So here we go. I'm going to have a new if statement for that reason. And I'm thinking about it, and I think I need another variable which I'm going to put in the object data because we need some kind of a range, snap range. And I'm not going to put it in this object, I'm going to put it in object data just because I'm dragging everything from here anyway. So here we go. Additional misc data. It's miscellaneous data, but misc for shorter. Range equal 64 pixels. I believe that, well, the size of the image of the sprite zone is 64 and its radius is 32, so 64 will be fine. This is the distance to the object where we can drop our character and the game will, but I don't want to use the variable range. I'm going to use the variable snap range. The game will say, okay, this is close enough, your character is relocated to this new zone. The range is too generic, I may need it later on when I'm reaching the battle stage of the game. Anyways, going back to our left released event, so we need a for loop. Before we go to the if statement, we need a for loop. We need to check for every different location if the distance to where we drop our character is small enough. I know it looks a little tedious and a little slow, but trust me, once this is set up, this will be done. Then we won't go back to it. Well, we will go back to it, but just for polishing purposes. Anyways, I need to set up another variable because I'm already seeing an issue here. Okay, in object data, I'm going to add up another variable right in the beginning. This will help us a lot. This variable is called location count. It's going to help with the procedural generation of the zones later on. Currently our location count is 3, so I'm just going to set it up as 3. Here I'm going to say location count, and it's still going to be 3 because we have 0, 1, 2, and if it's smaller than 3 it will end up. If it equals 3 it will end up. So yeah, oops, misclick. There we go. I'll need to check that again later on. So okay, here we're going to say if for e smaller than object data dot location count. That's it. At this point forward, we won't need to search for anything else. We'll just go in the object data and change the data, and everything in the entire game will be changed. This is why it's nice to have a single object to store all the data. So now we need to check if we're dropping our banner close enough to any of the zones. So now we have the if statement. Earlier in a game maker's life, I would have had to do something like an absolute value. I'll have to calculate the distance between 2 points, like absolute value of x and y, and then between the x of a zone and x of the banner, and then y of the zone and y of the banner, and then calculate the distance between those 2 points and whatever not. Now I can just, it was tedious, it was slow and whatever. Now I can just use the variable point distance. There you go. I'll just give the 4 points, xy of the banner because this is the thing we're dragging, and xy of the specific location. And we've stored those in the object data. So we have object data, we have our index I, so we just enter the database location I.1, I comma 1, and object data location I comma 2 for x and for y. There we go. If that is smaller than, is it here? Yeah, it should be here. If that is smaller than, well, how did I name that thing? Snap range, yeah. So if that thing is smaller than our snap range, we need to make a few different, god damn it. Can I make you behave without fucking up? Yeah, probably I can. Okay, here we go. So last, how did I name you? Last zone in. Okay, in the last zone in, I just need to store the fuck? What? Okay, here. Start from here. Last zone in. I just need to store the index of the location, meaning index I. There we go. Then we need to set our new coordinates to being the coordinates of the location. X equal stupid buttons. Object data dot location bracket I comma 1 and y will be equal object data dot location square bracket I comma 2. There we go. That's it. That's all we need to know. Now, if our point distance is close enough, we'll snap our new zone. Now, if we're not close enough, we'll write the new code else, and this new code here is going to snap us back to the last zone we were in. This is why I have the last zone in variable. So basically, this else statement means if we're not within the snap range, we're going to set our coordinates to our last zone in variable will not have been changed, so we can use it with its old value. So basically we need to change our x and y coordinates to the last zone that we were in. So object data dot location square bracket last zone in, it stars the index of the last zone. There we go. Zone in, x value is number 1. Now the same thing for y is just going to be number 2, and it's going to be y coordinate. There we go. That's it. That should be it. We're done so far. We're done with our banner object, and next time around we're going to do the zoning, because this video already turned out a bit too long. Subscribe to my channel for more videos like this one, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.